So good evening.
Hi, guys.
Glad you guys could make it. We appreciate that. And our goal tonight is to give you some information on CBD 101, demystifying CBD.
So I became interested in CBD back in 2015. I started seeing it became on my radar, different research articles and so forth. I was still of the mindset that I was confusing CBD from hemp as CBD from pot or marijuana. I had a lot to learn, but I was fascinated with the benefits that could actually help people get involved with something that would not become addictive and help them with whatever healthcare situation they were looking at. Our area has been just completely crushed by the opioid epidemic. It was very frustrating to listen to various stories. And when I started researching more about CBD, it started dawning on me that this could be an option for people so they don't become addicted. We can help stop it before it even starts, really became my motto. Also, my dad, I'll get into a little bit later, but so he responded very well to CBD, and he's got some pretty significant healthcare issues.
Awesome. So I got into this back in 2016, maybe even a little bit before that, for personal health issues that I was having. And I've been having some gut issues, chronic neck, arm, foot pain, and I've tried all kinds of different things. Some things have helped, some things haven't. And then I started to research CBD and started taking it and had some dramatic relief from my gut issues, from definitely chronic pain, arm, foot, neck pain, and my gut issues are probably 80%, 85% better. My skin issues that I had because of my gut are clearing up. So, I mean, that was just another wake-up call to say that this stuff, CBD, there's definitely something to it. So then we began researching, and we developed this. It took us 3 years in the making, and we created this line of CBD products. We've started out slowly, and as far as the number of products we have some oils, and we have some capsules, and we have a pain rub, and we hope to expand on that as time goes on to be able to give some other options to our customers. Now we want to talk a little bit about the history of hemp, because a lot of people don't really know the history of hemp. And it goes back as far back as 4,000 years BC. So a long time ago. And people were growing hemp and marijuana, and we'll get into the difference a little bit later on. But they've been growing it as a staple crop for years and years and years. In 1533, King Henry required that everybody had to have 60 acres of land. Each farmer must set aside a quarter acre for hemp cultivation, or otherwise face a fine of 3 shillings and 4 pence. So he knew that it was valuable to produce this crop. And then later on in colonial America, it was illegal actually for farmers to not grow hemp. The founding father, Thomas Jefferson, made it law that an acre of the best ground be kept to grow your hemp. Colonists came to America on ships that used hemp ropes, and they drafted the Constitution on hemp paper. In fact, there's over 200 uses for hemp, from as diverse as rope to paper to clothing. And in fact, BMW this year, or I think last year, made an entire car out of hemp. So, it's pretty versatile. Then in 1937, what happened was they had the Marijuana Tax Act, which brought to Congress, and it was passed. This eventually banned its production, its sale, and its use. Industrial hemp was dragged down with it. And that's one of the myths today, is that hemp and marijuana are the same. And in reality, they're totally different, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the talk. But one of the real problems was the government at the time and the powers that be wanted this. They wanted the general public to believe that marijuana and hemp were one and the same. Both of these plants share the same species called cannabis, but hemp being Cannabis sativa and marijuana being Cannabis indica. And in about 75 years ago, a US chemist, Roger Adams, he was the first one to isolate CBD. Roger Adams was a Boston man. He was born in Boston. He went to Harvard. He got a PhD in organic chemistry, a brilliant man. And he was the first one to really isolate the CBD compound. Not really knowing it, but he did. And then what happened was, along comes later in 1960, Raphael how do you say that?
McCollum. He's Israeli. He's
Israeli. He isolated and described the chemical structure of CBD, enabling chemists to confirm that CBD was a non-active constituent of cannabis. The active constituent of cannabis, or the psychoactive constituent, was THC. And that's where all this myth comes into play. By the mid-70s, the British Pharmacopoeia was starting to refer to CBD tinctures for medicinal use. So they were already seeing the power and the usefulness of CBD, for certain medical problems. Then we come to 2003, and there was a major landmark event in the legalization of CBD. And on October 7th, 2003, the United States government actually patented the first CBD-based patented. And it was used as an antioxidant and a neuroprotectant under the U.S. patent number 6630507. What the U.S. patent 6630507 states is cannabinoids reduce pain from inflammation. They protect your body from feeling pain. They're associated with traumatic experiences. They ease the stress of that. They also have been shown to not have unpleasant side effects. So no side effects, and we'll talk a little bit about their side effects later on. They also have powerful antioxidant activities for reducing oxidation associated with age-related health problems. So cannabinoids are found to have particular applications as neuroprotectants, aiding in neurodegenerative issues. So degenerative issues with the brain. Cannabinoids are protective to the brain in regard to ischemic damage, meaning they help blood flow and oxygen flow. They also support the nutritional health of aging bodies, and they protect against cellular damage. They also protect the cells of the nervous system, nerves, and the brain. Cannabinoids also act as free radical scavengers when exposed to toxins or radiation. Now, to me, that is huge. The benefits of cannabinoids are huge. To me, they're the optimal brain fuel. In 2012, there was a case with this young gal. Her name is Charlotte Fiji. She was 6 at the time, but she was born with, she had identical twins. Her other twin was fine, and she was fine to begin with. About 3 months of age, she started to develop seizures. And she, they took her to the doctor. The doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. They said she'd grow out of it. She just kept getting worse and worse. They went to doctor after doctor with no help. And this poor kid was on umpteen medications, and she just progressed to where you see her in this picture, where she was basically couldn't walk, couldn't talk, was just basically there. So what happened was her father was in the, I think he was in the Army, the US Army, and he actually quit the Army to research on what they could do for this child. And in through the research, he found about CBD. And they ended up giving this child CBD, and lo and behold, a year later at age 7, and they finally got a diagnosis that she suffered from a rare form of epilepsy called Dravet syndrome. And again, she was experienced dozens of seizures daily, 300 in 1 month time. Nobody could help her until the parents gave her CBD. And what happened then was, after the first dose of CBD, for 7 hours, she didn't have a seizure. And then they kept giving her the CBD, and she would have 2 to 3 seizures in a month's time, but they were all at night. So she didn't experience any, because she was sleeping. So with that said, now we come to 218, and the Farm Bill was signed by the president, and it is now legal in all 50 states. It's been demonstrated to help reduce stress and anxiety, relieve pain, promote sleep, and encourage a happier and healthier life. So things are starting to change. There's a little bit of a gray area because of it's been declassified as a class 1 drug federally, but state-wise there's still some issues, but it's changing rapidly, and I think you're eventually going to see state by state by state change the laws. It can be sold in all 50 states and 40 different countries. So let's get into the difference. We've been talking about this myth and what some of the problems are with people thinking when you talk about hemp that you're talking about marijuana. But here's the difference here. Both, like I said before, in the cannabis family, but hemp is Cannabis sativa and marijuana is from the Cannabis indica. Both are fruit. This is a good example, an analogy, that both are fruit, lemons and limes, both are citrus, but they're very different in taste, and they're actually very different chemically as well. So what is CBD? It's called cannabidiol, and as most referred to, is one of over 100 active cannabinoids in the hemp plant. So there's CBD, CBC, etc., and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. It's extracted mainly from the flowers and the buds of the hemp plant. CBD does not produce euphoria or intoxication like its cousin THC, like we talked about. CBD targets specific receptors in the brain and the body. There are both significantly physical and mental benefits from CBD supplementation for the treatment and the prevention of disease and to optimize health. This quality makes CBD a sought-after option for individuals suffering from chronic pain, epilepsy, anxiety, stress, and insomnia, as well as PSD, depression, and mood disorders, as well as low energy, skin issues, lack of focus, and lack of appetite, and other symptoms without the mind-altering effects of marijuana, pharmaceuticals, and drugs. And you might ask yourself, wow, this is a panacea. Like, how can this molecule help so many things? But we're going to explain how that happens. And that's the beauty of CBD, is it has such a global effect on the entire body. Without talking more about CBD, we have to talk about the endocannabinoid system. And what the endocannabinoid system is, we are all born, all mammals have an endocannabinoid system, but it wasn't discovered till the 1990s. I mean, when Deb and I went to chiropractic college, we didn't learn about it. We went in 1986, or we graduated in 86. So we didn't even know about this.
It wasn't even discovered, so
It wasn't.
we couldn't have even learned about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened was in the 90s, the researcher we talked about, Ralph Kolam, the Israeli organic chemist, he discovered it. And since the endocannabinoid system modulates the nervous system, it has a governing role over all the other systems in the body. So it looks after the digestive system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the excretory system, the endocrine system, your skin system, your skeletal system, muscle system, reproductive system, all your other system. It's kind of like Houston control. When we went to school, we thought the brain was Houston control. But in reality, the endocannabinoid system has a huge role in regulating all the systems in the body and ultimately optimizing health. The endocannabinoid system is a biological system composed of endocannabinoids, which are neurotransmitters, which are produced in the body and that attach to cannabinoid receptors located throughout the body. The two primary receptors are CB1 and CB2 receptors. The CB1 receptors are found predominantly in the brain, nervous system, peripheral organs, and tissues. The CB2 receptors are predominantly found in the immune system and blood stem cells. The endocannabinoid system plays a major role in regulating sleep, pain, mood, memory, and appetite. The endocannabinoid system is to help us maintain homeostasis or balance when challenged by external and internal stress and improper lifestyle choices through modulating both central, meaning the brain and the spinal cord, and our peripheral nervous system. And we might ask ourselves, why at this time in our existence are we seeing so many type of health conditions, you know, whether it's being cancer or autoimmune diseases, stress-related disorders, arthritis, etc. And we think that, you know, one of the main problems is the next thing we're going to talk about, which is the endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome and the amount of stress that we're under in this day and age. We live in a pressure cooker world. So we need to talk about the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome. All big words I can barely say, but they need to be, you know, talked about so that you understand the power of this product CBD. So this is a message from the National Institute of Health in 2006. It said in the last decade, the endocannabinoid system has been implicated in an increasing number of physiological functions, both in the central and peripheral nervous systems and in peripheral organisms or organs. And the clinical endocannabinoid diseases are contributed to migraine, fibromyalgia, idiopathic bowel syndrome, or IBS, causalgia, which basically we're talking about all limb pain there, infantile colic, glaucoma, dysmenorrhea, hyperemesis.
So basically vomiting during pregnancy.
Vomiting during pregnancy, unexplained fetal wastage, post-traumatic stress disorder, and bipolar disease. And I'm sure you can think of, when I went through those, I think of many people that I know with those conditions. And, you know, I think 20, 30 years ago, that really wouldn't happen. So what we're seeing is, combined with this clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome and the increased stressors in our pressure cooker world, this is what's happening. Now, when the body is deficient in endocannabinoids and/or the cannabinoid receptors, the endocannabinoid system becomes inefficient and imbalanced, and thus does not function optimally, allowing disease to occur. So the two problems is genetically, if you do not have the endocannabinoid receptors or the cannabinoid receptors, and you're not producing enough endocannabinoids, then that's when you can see these disease processes happening. And another factor that may play into this is the fact that our food chain has become deficient in its cannabinoid content due to the fact that since the 30s, when that tax went into effect, and farmers basically, it was too expensive for them to produce hemp, they ceased to be the major cash crop that was fed to our livestock and including the majority of our food supply. So at one time before the 37, hemp was the cash crop and it was fed to all the livestock. So therefore we were getting it into our system.
So this always reminds me of how we discovered basically how important vitamin C was.
Yep.
Was when sailors would go on these long journeys and we didn't know that they needed to have vitamin C for proper health, and you know they were basically dying from scurvy.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, the vitamin C is essential for the lining of the blood vessels and so forth. So they literally were bleeding to death.
Yeah.
When I think about how if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know what you're missing. So,
exactly.
You know, where hemp was basically banned, then what was getting into our systems prior, we didn't even know was essential until we didn't have it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we can't deny that there's been an incredible rise in, you know, even kids with anxiety and sleep issues and inflammation and so many diseases that we really can't even explain,
yeah.
like a fibromyalgia, or, you know, things that people are still wondering, well, how does this happen? You start to wonder, is it because we haven't been getting an essential product in our diet because it was banned?
Yeah.
You know, so
exactly.
Now I think we're seeing the effect of that.
Another good example of that is vitamin D. I mean, we all know now that because of where we live in the Northern Hemisphere, we're lacking the vitamin D from the sun, but there's people actually even telling us that it's not really so much the sun, but it's actually our food supply that is lacking the vitamin D. And, you know, we need to supplement with vitamin D for sure. So there's definitely examples of the same kind of thing.
Which makes me think that we are so on the cutting edge right now with the knowledge that everyone's learning. You know, we're going from kind of ground zero to taking all that science and kind of drilling it down to saying, okay, just like now we know, yeah, you should supplement with vitamin D. It's kind of normal. I think eventually it's going to be, well, yeah, of course you're supposed to be supplementing with CBD because you're not going to get enough in your diet.
Yeah, it's like when your, you know, grandmother used to give you cod liver oil, right? There was a reason for that. So the solution. We just talked about the solution. This is the solution, and we spell solution S-O-U-L. And that is because we believe that if you nourish your soul, so you're being yourself, then you can optimize your health, and now you're able to optimize your life experience.
Yeah, especially true for parents, right?
Exactly.
You know, and probably me being a mom, I'm going to speak as a mom, is that there probably is a tendency to, of course, you're taking care of everyone, you're looking after the kids and so forth, and we can have a tendency to not even get on our own to-do list. But as, you know, hopefully my message has been to young moms especially, is that you have to take care of you first so that you can then properly take care of your kids and your family and do a better job. But if we're depleted, we have really nothing left to give.
Absolutely. And that goes for us dads, it goes for, you know, wives, husbands, etc. So let's blow the lid on the myth of you do not get a buzz from CBD. You can't get high from it. It is from the hemp plant. Our CBD is made from hemp grown in the USA. It's made with organic ingredients. It's the good manufacturer practice, so the GMP certification. There's no GMO in it, and it's PETA improved.
Yeah, so just to clarify, if CBD is derived from marijuana, then there is a higher level of THC in that, and you could get a high or a buzz.
Yeah, when I talked about that little girl, Charlotte Fiji, initially she was treated with oil made from the marijuana plant it was a strain that had very high CBD and low THC, but it did have more THC than what we get from the hemp plant. For the hemp plant to be legal in the United States, it has to only have less than 0.3% THC dry weight, so very minuscule. That said, the THC, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the entourage effect in the next few slides, but the THC is important to synergistically work with the CBD and the other things in the hemp plant called the terpenes and other products in the plant that all work together to produce the positive outcome. So the top benefits of CBD are, number one, pain management, anti-inflammatory, which goes along kind of with pain management, anti-anxiety, sleep insomnia, and I mean, all three of those, and even the focus, increase energy, maybe weight loss for me, but those other ones I can really personally tell you CBD has helped me with that. I don't know about you, Deb. I know with sleep probably.
Sleep, I'm just noticing I take it religiously now at night, and I'm finding that my sleep, it's like a relaxed, deep sleep, but I wake up refreshed. So it isn't like, I've never taken a sleeping drug, let's just say, but from what I hear, when people take that, they'll go to sleep, but then they wake up, but they have a hard time waking up.
Exactly.
And even with an alarm going off, they're groggy, and so it kind of takes them half a day to wake up, but they sleep. So there's a huge trade-off with this. I'm actually sleeping so soundly that I'm waking up a little bit before the alarm, and then getting going, and then actually having energy to exercise even before work most days.
Right, and I find I take my CBD before bed, so I think it puts me in a nice relaxed state to sleep. But I also take it in the morning, and you would think it would do the same effect, but it doesn't. It has the actual exact opposite effect, where it increases my energy and it gives me focus in the sense that I want to get going and get things done. So it's very interesting. It really goes back to how it balances all your systems. So if all your systems are balanced, your system that wants you to go to sleep at night, it does that. The system that is there for you to wake up and get at it and get focused is there. It's really a marvelous product. So we have a full spectrum oil. We carry a 250 milligram and a 1,000 milligram. And we're going to add more as we go along, but we thought we'd start on the low end and the high end. And the 250 milligram gives you a 5 milligram per serving, and the 1,000 gives you a 25 milligram per serving. We have a plain and a peppermint. Some people, don't mind the taste of the plain, but others prefer a little peppermint taste.
Actually, that should be 20 milligrams.
Is it 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the 1,000 milligram bottle, you get 20 milligrams per serving.
Okay.
I like math.
Really? All right. So there's 50 servings per bottle. So, I mean, you could literally take a serving per day. It just depends on your, and we'll talk a little bit about the dosing later on in this, which is a kind of a hard topic, but we'll talk about that. But you literally could definitely have 50 servings per bottle. The entourage effect, I talked a little bit about that before, and what the entourage effect in full spectrum. So when you're getting full spectrum, you're getting everything in the hemp plant. So you're getting all the cannabinoids, you're getting some terpenes, and you're getting all the elements of that plant. And they synergistically, like I said before, work together to give you the outcome, which scientists are calling what they call the entourage effect. And again, I said there was less than 0.3% THC.
I kind of like enlighten the entourage effect, similar to like a symphony. You know, you're getting all the instruments instead of just a violin.
Right.
You know,
that's a good analogy. Now we also have isolate capsules, and we did that because there's going to be some people that can't afford to take the full spectrum with the minor amount of THC in it, because there is a small chance that with like
a
drug test, that you would test positive for THC. So if you're a fireman, a policeman, or anybody else that you know, is going to be drug tested, there's a slim chance if you were taking the full spectrum, but we would definitely, you know, advise you to take the isolate capsules, and then there would be no problem with the drug test. Now, this is interesting. The physician desk reference, which has been around for years, and it's the go-to reference for medical doctors and anybody else that prescribes, has a right to prescribe drugs. Every single drug is in there, and you can go through there, find it, find out the action, the side effects, etc., etc. This year, CBD was recently addition to the PDR. So, I mean, it just tells us how advancing that CBD is going to be, and how legit, really, it's coming.
So I'd love to talk about.
You talk about.
I'd love to talk about Kelly. So yeah, and Kelly has given us permission to use her picture and to show her testimonial and so forth. The first night we launched,
right?
Within minutes, we got an order from Kelly, and she was at her wit's end with restless leg syndrome.
Yes.
And was just keeping her awake at night. And and honestly, this probably came a little bit of a surprise for us, you know, it was
absolutely.
To have it be our.
I mean, it's not the norm that somebody would get this immediate effect.
Right. Yeah.
But the endocannabinoid system in everybody is different.
Exactly.
And it's like a fingerprint. It's like your fingerprint. It's very unique. Mm-hmm. And we will talk about that in the problem of, I don't know if it's a problem, but of figuring out your dosage.
Right. There's a lot goes into everyone's life, right?
Yeah.
So, but in Kelly's situation, I mean, she literally it had been years since she had a good night's sleep, and she was telling me that, you know, she'd have to have her husband rub her legs, and they were just like on fire every single night, the poor girl, and trying to get a good night's sleep was next to impossible. So it was like right away she started getting relief with her restless leg, and even now we're communicating a month into this, and she just says, like, I cannot believe the changes. So that's been a lot of fun. I mean, this is what it's all about for us. It's what makes us tick. It's how we got interested in doing something above and beyond chiropractic for our patients, and trying to have an impact where we could offer a solution that wasn't going to get them hooked, you know, hooked on an opioid or hooked on Xanax or something along those lines, trying to find solutions that would agree with their body, you know.
And I just want to add to that. I mean, getting 2 to 3 hours sleep a night is a serious problem, and it's not a good thing, because what happens at night is that is when your body repairs itself and heals itself. So if you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep, and I mean like the proper deep sleep that requires, you know, you're you're either moving away from health or, right, you're going the other way.
Yeah.
So to be able to, help this person with this product, that's been awesome. The other thing, I don't know if you can see here with our little, how we got back to her, but there are studies, and I mean, we are adamant. That's why it took us probably 3 years to start this, was because we wanted to make sure we had a quality product, and there was science and research to back it up. So I read back to her that there are, studies out of France that is saying that CBD is effective for restless leg syndrome. I'll let Deb talk about her dad.
Pop. There's my Pop. Some of you guys have met my dad in the office, actually. He comes in for adjustments, not so much coming to the office anymore. But my dad has COPD from smoking since he was a teenager. Unfortunately, got hooked on that and smoked. And also he worked as an airline mechanic at Logan. And a combination, I believe, of those two things did a lot of damage.
Jet fuel.
Yeah, to his lungs, and he developed COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Because of that disease, he is on oxygen. He was on prednisone as daily, for years. That was just kind of standard protocol. Being on a steroid like prednisone will also drive up blood sugar and blood pressure. So, of course, he was on blood pressure meds. He was on metformin for diabetes, and it's a whole domino effect.
Right.
Because
which we see.
Oh yeah.
In society right now.
Yeah. One thing leads to the next.
One thing leads to the next, and there's statistics. 65 years and older, the average number of medications that people are on, I think, is 5 or greater.
Yeah, 5 or 6, I believe.
Yeah.
So about a year ago, he had a spontaneous fracture of his hip due to the chronic use of prednisone, which we know does weaken the joint. So it was a definite catch-22. That particular surgery caused him to lose a lot of blood, which has definitely had an effect on him. As far as mentally, it can be a little bit off. But
forgetfulness.
Yeah, a little forgetfulness, but still in good spirits and so forth. Anyway, it took about a year of nursing him back to health. And as we were getting ready to launch with our CBD business, we decided, well, let's get him started on this, and we did. And so it's not that I took my dad off any medications. I just was adding in the CBD. So we brought him, after about 2 months on the product, we brought him to his pulmonologist. And we really were concerned if we could possibly entertain getting him off prednisone, because I didn't personally want to see him ever go through like a second hip fracture, because I don't know if he'd survive that. The doctor checked him out, and he said, "Wow, Ron, you're actually doing pretty well." I mean, they all were kind of shocked when they saw him, because they had seen him in a really bad way, prior. And we asked, can we get him off prednisone? He said, I think actually you can. So start to wean him off. Also, his breathing had improved, and he went from being on 3 liters per minute of oxygen down to 1.5. He was on previously 4 nebulizers a day, treatments a day, plus inhalers. I mean, it was a full-time job, literally keeping track of all the different treatments he needed. Those 4 nebulizer treatments have gone away, and just as needed. So that was great. The next appointment was with the cardiologist, and the cardiologist checked him out. And again, they were like, "Wow, Ron, you're looking good." And I asked about getting him off the blood pressure meds. And he said, "I don't see any reason why not." So he got him off lisinopril. His metformin for his diabetes was cut in half. And again, these are all with the doctor's orders. I mean, we don't have a license to prescribe, so this is all done through his health professionals. So he's definitely a great walking testimonial, and nothing makes me happier than to help my dad.
Awesome. So why buy Inside Out CBD? Well, we feel the most important factor in sourcing professional quality CBD products is to know who is behind the company and the relationship you develop with them. At Inside Out, we are health and wellness professionals, and our vision is to provide a safe, natural, alternative option for our customers for pain management and other conditions, including, like I said before, anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, sleep insomnia, focus, increased energy, and weight loss. Our passion for optimal health remains at the very soul of everything we live and breathe, and it always has. We also, the other things that you should look for when you're looking at a CBD product is the quality of it. Our Inside Out Pure Hemp CBD products are made from industrial hemp, sourced from organic farms in Colorado and Kentucky, that have produced some of the most rich medicinal CBD hemp in the USA. Inside Out Pure Hemp CBD is completely isolated through a process called CO2 extraction and crystal precipitation, and is of the highest quality, highest grade, pesticide-free, non-GMO, and organically hemp. These industrial hemp farms are fully compliant with the State Department of Agriculture regulations and are one of the largest U.S. distributors of medicinal hemp, rich in CBD, CBG, CBC, and CBN, which are just other cannabidiols, like I was saying before. So we're from seed to sale. Our Pure Hemp CBD is extensively tested by a third-party lab for potency and contaminants to bring you the highest quality product. Inside Out Pure Hemp CBD products are legal in all 50 states and in more than 40 countries worldwide. So at any time, there is available our certificate of analysis for each batch that is started, both with the isolate product and with the full spectrum product. And that's what you need to look at and make sure that any CBD that you're buying has a certificate of analysis. CBD is all over the place. You can go into gas stations around here and find it, but it's probably made in China. That's why it's inexpensive, but it also probably contains toxins, fungicides, and other things. And these certificates of analysis will show you that our products do not contain that. They've been tested for that. The problem maybe with hemp, it's a blessing in a disguise with hemp, because it's called a bioaccumulator. It's a plant that sucks everything out of the soil, being good or bad. So if the soil is contaminated, it's going to suck heavy metals and pesticides, etc., out of the soil. So it's definitely something that needs to be tested. So another question is, what about employee drug testing? I think we talked a bit about that, about our isolate and our full spectrum. We would advise you to, if you are getting drug tested, to consume the isolate product, which has 0 THC in it. That way you don't stand the chance. I personally don't think that our full spectrum would have a problem, but if you're taking it on, extended period of time, it may accumulate in your system and ping a drug test. So you're better off to just take the isolate. Another question is, what if I don't like the taste of CBD oil and prefer capsules? Well, we have the capsules. And also, if you don't like the taste of the oil, we do have the peppermint.
That's what I prefer.
The peppermint?
I love the peppermint, yeah.
And I don't really, it doesn't really bother me, but yeah, some people do. Good question here is, how much CBD should I take? And I've alluded to that that's a hard question. And the problem is that everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. Again, it's like your fingerprint. It's unique to you. So to develop it like a serving size, it's a lot of, you just have to try and do. But our rule of thumb is go low and slow. So start low and slow, and then gradually increase to where you get to the effects that you want. The other thing we want you to try if you're using an oil is to put it under your tongue, so sublingually under your tongue, and use what we call the 60-second rule, which is you'll let it sit there for 30 to 60 seconds. The longer, the better. And what's happening there is it's actually getting absorbed into your system. you get maximum absorption into your system in this process. Because if you swallow it, what happens is it has to then go through your digestive system, your liver, etc. So by the time it gets into your system, you've lost a lot of the quality of it. So remember the 60-second rule. Another question is, is a standard hemp seed oil the same as inside out PCR, which stands for phytocannabinoid rich CBD oil? And you can go to the grocery store and get hemp seed oil. But what that's made of is it's made of just the stalk of the plant, not the flowers and the leaves. And it is very low in CBD. What our product does, though, is it uses CBD seed oil as a carrier for the hemp oil. So, don't get confused on that. Certainly, the hemp oil, if you're buying it and using it on salads and things, is awesome nutritionally. Just be aware that it doesn't have a lot of CBD in it. Side effects to CBD, we're being a little tongue-in-cheek here. The warning sign says increase in energy, a good mood, weight loss, reduced stress, boost in immune system, boost in productivity, improved quality of life. And I mean, quite honestly, any of the side effects, which are minor, but you would have to consume an amount of CBD that nobody would actually consume. And you could possibly get diarrhea, some fatigue, but it could interfere with some medications. So that is something that you should, if you are considering CBD, run it by your PCP to find out what their thoughts on it. And what we've found is most primary care physicians really don't know a lot about it.
Well, they're just starting their journey too.
Exactly,
yeah.
Because it's so new. So here's our vision. We strive to empower our patients, our community, and the world to take charge of their health and optimize the ability of the body's self-healing mechanisms. Our vision is to provide safe, natural, non-addictive options for mankind. Our passion for optimal health remains at the very soul of everything we live and breathe. We're very, very, true to this. I mean, not only in that, we're chiropractors, and that's what chiropractic basically is all about, is trying to facilitate the body's ability to heal itself. And, CBD does a similar thing. It facilitates the body to heal itself. And that's what we want to provide to our patients, our community, and beyond. We want to educate them on certain things that will facilitate their body to heal itself. And we also want to educate that your body does have the ability to heal itself.
Right. But it needs all the parts too.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So knowledge is power. Action is powerful. We'll also provide guest speaking to groups, organizations, and service clubs, provide webinars, and chiropractors, if you're out there listening, ask us about our affiliate and wholesale program. Private message us, and we'd be very happy to, discuss our affiliate and wholesale programs. This is our contact information. We capitalize the soul because that's a different spelling of solutions, because we believe that healing starts with you, with your soul. We put you back into healthcare, right? Doesn't matter if you write that or lowercase, uppercase, it'll auto change and you'll get to the website or email address, and that's our cell phone number. So
yeah, thanks you guys
thanks
for
attending. I hope we did justice for our first go at the rodeo here. I hope everybody heard us throughout the whole thing.
We could be talking to ourselves.
We could be talking to, well, we're used to that.
That's right.
So what we're doing, we're giving our gift to you is to take 25% off your entire order. And if you choose to do so, use the promo code CBD101. This promo code is going to be live for the next 24 hours, so take advantage of that. So with that, thank you guys. Have a good night, and hopefully we'll talk soon.